Mark here, y'all know how I do cooking the books with a whole new meaning. Uh, I wanna talk about frequency real quick and the importance of understanding what a frequency is. In essence, a frequency, the word frequency, in essence, keep everything simple. It's the cycles per second measured in hertz, right? Uh, how many times uh, something passes a certain point per second? That's the textbook, very elementary definition of the word frequency, right? It's a repetitiveness. How many times something repeats itself in a given set time. In terms of wavelengths, frequency is how many times a wave have what's called a throw, which is its bottom, and a peak, which is the top. Then you have the wavelength, which is the distance between the peaks, and you have the amplitude, which is the actual size of the wave. Now, what you have to understand what the nature of a wave is in terms of frequency and what the nature of a wave is. A wave is, based off Max Planck or uh, Einstein, Niels Bohr, just to name a few scientists who have researched this. Waves are light, first of all, and foremost, they're light, and they behave both as a particle and as a wave, right? So wave behave or a light behaves both as a particle and as a wave, and therefore wave behaves as a wave, function as a wave, and it functions as a particle simultaneously. Uh, but the nature of the wave itself, what is it? Like I said, it's light. Then you ask yourself, well, what is light? Light is it's energy, uh, which is emitted from a source or radiates by a source. It's also a part of the electromagnetic spectrum. Uh, but more, even furthermore, wave is also information. It's information that is coded information uh, that needs to be decoded. It's coded information. Think of like a computer. A computer has O's and ones and O's. One mean on, the zero means off, right? Bits and bytes. Bytes are 8 digits of bits. So 8 bits make 1 byte. Think of it, that has to be decoded because each on and off represents numbers. Those numbers represents letters, and that's how you code and stuff like that. So waves are information that are coded. And every time you and I, this is why it's important because you and I, our cells are designed to receive the waves and not only receive, to decode the wave. What I mean by that is think of your DNA. Your DNA is a set of instructions, information. When that information in your DNA comes in contact with a ribosome, it is converted or transmutated into proteins, specific types of proteins. They're called amino acids. Uh, the point I'm making though is that our cells are designed as receptors. They literally are called cell receptors, and these receptors are constantly receiving. It's called this part of science or this field of studies called photobiology. Photobiologist is the person who studies photobiology. And photobiology is essentially the study of how light interacts with us, matter, because we're matter, right? Uh, and our cells are designed to absorb, transmit, and transmute the waves that we're receiving. And remember, waves behave, the functionality of a wave is it resets and passes through a fixed point over and over and over again. I'll say it again. A wave resets, passes through a fixed point over and over again. So there are waves constantly around us, right? Especially if you live in a metropolitan city area, you are bombarded with waves. I mean, there are waves around us regardless, whether you live in a metropolitan or not. You could be in a rural countryside or in a metropolitan. It doesn't matter. It's just a matter of degree, right? So if you're in uh, Kentucky, Iowa, some rural countryside area, there's less waves, less frequency, a less frequency. It's called a Doppler effect. Doppler effect is a change in frequency of waves. So if you're in like a rural area, there's less frequency of waves nonetheless. If you're in the metropolitan, New York, Chicago, California, where there's a lot of technology, then there's even more, there's higher frequency. Again, it's called a Doppler effect. Doppler effect is just a measurement of the change in frequencies of waves, dependent on the whether you're moving towards or away from the source. So if you're moving towards the source, it's going to be higher frequency. If you're moving away, lower frequency. Very easy to understand that. So you and I, why this is important to us is that you and I are, I said this before, we're chemical creatures, but in terms of electricity, we are frequency creatures, right? We run off electricity, right? I talked about the synode, SA node, synode, which is the responsible for the pulsating of the heart. And every time the synode pulsates the heart, it gives off electricity. So we have currents that flow through our bodies. We are conductors. If you speak to any electrician or engineer, they'll tell you exactly what a conductor is. Anything that allows the flow of current. So we are conductors in the sense that we allow electricity to flow through and pass through us, in and through us. And again, our cells are designed as conduits. So we are conduits. And because we're conduits, we can absorb electricity in the form of waves. Okay. And again, like I said, waves is information. So here's the thing. I'm breaking this down, making it sound very slow. Waves operate at a very, 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 very high frequency. Meaning, if you go to 97 point, I haven't listened to the radio in years, but I think it was like 97.1, or you guys who listen to the radio know what radio station is. Any radio station, doesn't even matter. 101, 103, it doesn't matter. The 97 or the 101 represents frequencies per second. Don't quote me on this, but I believe 97 would be 97,000 frequencies per second. 101 would be 101,000 frequencies per second. But the point is, the frequencies are, I'm giving small numbers. I said a lot, you could do 2 cycles per second, 3 cycles per second. Frequencies can go up to trillions per second, extremely high frequency. So if a wave is passing through a certain point, resets and repeats over and over again, and waves are information. If I, for instance, am that point and there's a wave that's passing through me, then it resets and passes through me again. And this cycle continues, let's say 10,000 times per second, which is a very small number. Like I said, frequencies are extremely high. So let's say it's happening at, 200,000 times per second. So 200 in over a second, in 1 second duration, 200,000 waves just pass through me. Because remember, a wave resets and then repeats, right? So it resets itself, then it passes through a fixed point over and over again, and the over and over again is considered the frequency, which is the cycles per second. So if there's if there's information, if waves are information, which they are based off my research, and the information is passing through me personally over and over and over again, my cells are absorbing that information. And remember, because we're solid and we're physical form, the information that we cells, again, like I told, wavelengths are information, but they're also energy, like I mentioned, the light energy. If a certain wave is passing through me 200,000 times per second every single day, that's called my frequency, right? That's called the frequency that I'm tapped into, or frequency, or matter of fact, it's called my resonance. Resonant frequency is the natural state or the natural frequency that you are locked into. It's called frequency matching. Think of tuning your radio. Like, that's what I'm naturally tuned to. And that information is converted by my brain and everything else within me into thoughts and action and deeds. So my behavior and the things I'm going to do is going to be a result of whatever that frequency is that is playing over 200,000 times through through my system, and my cells are uh, absorbing and converting that into my actions and my deeds. So it's important that we understand what frequencies are, how they work, and a lot of the thoughts you have, you'll understand where they're coming from. Okay, a lot of your thoughts are not your thoughts. They're not. Uh, we don't want to get too spooky on you, but they're not. Things you believe, they're not your beliefs. Uh, Look up the word imprinting, inoculation, and you'll understand what I mean. A lot of your thoughts are not your thoughts. Matter of fact, in the book of Isaiah, God says to the people, your thoughts are not my thoughts, and my thoughts are not your thoughts. As far as the heavens is from the earth, so are my ways from yours, and yours from mine. So a lot of thoughts you're having every day, thoughts of depression, anxiety, and all the thoughts that you think are yours, they're not yours. They were transmitted to you. The question is from where, what source, and how do you take control of your mind, as opposed to letting it being controlled without you even knowing it's being controlled. The arts of manipulation. All right, till next time.